Hi everyone, my name's Natalie, also known as Minx on Facebook and Blogger. I'm doing this video to raise awareness of gastroparesis, which is a condition that I have. Basically means paralysis of the stomach, which is where the stomach doesn't empty properly, but it's far more than that. Gastroparesis for me is a life-changing thing. It's changed me as a person. It's changed everything in my life. Everything. It's just had such a massive impact on everything. And I wanted to do this video for all those people that follow my blog and follow me on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. To say a big thank you, really, to everybody who sends me all the lovely messages and things all the time, and keeps my spirits up. It keeps me going, so thank you. Yeah, gastroparesis. My journey started 2 years ago tomorrow. It's my anniversary tomorrow, so yeah, 2 years of not being able to eat or drink, various spells in hospitals, weeks and months on end in hospital, just trying to stay alive, really. When I first started getting sick, I was told that it was probably stress related. It would probably go away on its own, like lots of gastroparesis patients. Yeah, I was kind of fobbed off, and as things went on and my weight deteriorated, the consultant that I had, who was pretty diabolical, I have to say, decided that he thought that I had an eating disorder. There was nothing structurally wrong with my body. I'd had all the tests and everything was fine. So yeah, he thought that because I was female and relatively young, that I was deliberately not eating or deliberately making myself sick because I didn't want to gain weight, which was absolutely ludicrous, because right from the very start of not being able to eat, I went and got help. From day one, I went to get help, so that was a fairly stupid thing to think. But yeah, I had to jump through all the hoops of going to see eating disorder specialists, psychiatrists, people like that. To be fair, they were very nice. They were very helpful, actually. But they knew straight away that this wasn't a problem with me. It was a physical thing. They kept me on their books for several months, so that I could go to them and talk about how I was feeling about the whole thing and stuff, which was nice. But of course, that didn't last very long, because with not being an anorexic, they couldn't get the funding to keep me on their books, so I had to leave. But they were really nice, but I was kind of glad to be out of there, because I always knew that I wasn't a mental health patient, just poorly. So yeah, we went through all that and jumped through the hoops and got through it, and came out the other side, still fighting. Managed to find myself a private doctor initially, who was absolutely excellent. He was a neuro gastroenterologist in London, and he organised for me to have the gastric emptying study and stuff, and the small bowel manometry, which had been a bugbear with my local hospital, because I'd been ill for a long time, and they'd basically not organised any of those tests for me. Because they thought I was nuts. So yeah, this professor in London got me the tests organised, which confirmed that I do have gastroparesis, severe gastroparesis. But he also found that I've got a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, type 3, which is basically, to put it mildly, this is not the extent of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. There's lots and lots of elements to it, but the basic gist of it is that I have really stretchy skin, and bendy joints and they crack a lot. I get a lot of tiredness and things like that. Everything's, connected to the EDS. But basically, because of this joint laxity and skin problems, that's more than likely what's caused my gastroparesis. So after we'd seen the consultant in London, we couldn't really afford to keep going and pay in private. And really, why should we in the UK when we've got the NHS? Why should patients like me have to find their own doctors to begin with, and then pay for them quite extortionately to see somebody to get help when you should be getting it anyway, really. But the situation was as it was, and I just had to do what I needed to do to get better. When I went back to my local consultant, he was very dismissive of the EDS diagnosis. He basically stood there and bent his finger back and said, lots of people have bendy joints. It's a theory that the professor believes, but it's not something that I believe. Which I thought was just the most ridiculous comment ever. I mean, he's a consultant doctor in a small local hospital, and I'd been to see the head motility expert in the country, and he was completely dismissing what he was saying. At which point I knew I couldn't continue seeing him anymore. It was just our relationship had really broken down. I didn't trust him, and he certainly didn't have any time for me, so I kind of ditched him at that point. I asked the London consultant for advice on where to go, and he put me in touch with a research team in Durham who have been absolutely fantastic. And they've done all sorts for me. They arranged lots more tests, but this time the tests were based on the function of the body rather than structural abnormalities. So I had another gastric emptying study, a barium X-ray, SIT-SMART test, lots of things like that, which all compounded that what we already knew really was that I had gastroparesis to quite a severe extent. So he recommended that I try having Botox in my stomach, but he didn't think that that was going to be enough for me because Botox only increases gastric emptying time by a small percentage, and for the delay that I had, the chances are it wouldn't be significant enough to make me feel genuinely better. So he organised for me to have that, but he also he didn't suggest, he told me about the gastric pacemaker. He told me all the facts about it before I went ahead and made a decision. He said that the gastric pacemakers are only 50% effective in patients, and they couldn't really tell us how it worked or why it worked, and the effects were very different depending on who it was, really. So I knew before I went into all this that the chances are that there was a possibility that it wouldn't make me feel any better, but I still had hope, so I went for it. But he wouldn't do any of that without having a nutritional fallback, so I had to have a jejunal tube placed into my intestine for feeding, because we tried nasogastric feeding with my previous consultant, and that was just horrific, to say the least. It was just the most awful thing ever. So he said that they could feed me with a tube like this down my nose, give that a try for a few weeks, and if I was tolerating that, then we'd go ahead and have the Botox and the pacemaker and a surgical jejunostomy tube. I had the trial with the NJ tube, which is exactly the same as this one, and I didn't get up to a very high volume because I only had it for a few days. I developed problems with my sinuses because of the tube, and it was giving me lots of pain in my face, my teeth, my ears, everything, so it had to come out. So we didn't give it very long, but we thought it was significant enough to say, look, we need to do something, so we'll do it, and hope for the best. So we did, and I went and had the surgery in October 2011, which is just gone. I had the tube running. I was getting just short of 1,000 calories a day. Not managing massive volumes, but I was gaining a little bit of weight, even at 1,000 calories, because by now my metabolism's completely shut down. I call it starvation mode, but when you don't eat for a very long time, your body learns to preserve everything that it's got. So I was actually gaining weight at 1,000 calories, where most people would lose weight rapidly at that. And that worked for so long, and then a few weeks ago I developed a lot of pain around my jejunal tube site. I knew it wasn't an infection because it wasn't hot, it wasn't red or sore or anything like that. It was just really, really painful. So I ended up in A&E one night because I'd tried everything at home, the tramadol, Oromorph, that kind of thing. None of it had worked. So yeah, I ended up back in A&E with that. And I was told that it was a possibility that the problem that I've got with my stomach is also an issue in my intestine as well. So I was quite devastated at that. But then he gave me new hope. The day before I left hospital, he went to speak to somebody else about it in Manchester, who said that he'd had a few patients with jejunal tubes, and they'd had pain because the tube was pulling down into the bowel all the time. So we just presumed that, yeah, that's what it is. The tube's pulling, and we'll just take it out and we'll put an NJ tube in and see if the feeding's any better. Which is where we're at now. I've got the NJ tube back, and I'm managing a little bit of feed on that, but currently only getting a few mils an hour, not very much. It's up and down. The highest I've been to is 19 mils an hour, which is barely, it's not enough calories. It's just not enough. So I'm losing weight again. So I emailed my consultant and told him that I was having problems with the feed again. And yeah, the gastric pacemaker, yeah, I forgot to mention that. The gastric pacemaker doesn't work for me. It hasn't worked since day one. I've had it adjusted lots and lots of times, and it's done absolutely nothing. All I've got to show for it is a lump and a scar, and lots of bad memories, really. When I look back now, I would change it if I went back, but at the time, that was my piece of hope, so I had to do it, and that was my reason. So I can't feel guilty for going ahead, because that was my option. That was my way out. It didn't work, but that was the position at the time. So now I've got the jejunal tube and it's not working. So I've been referred on to the team at Manchester to see if I need to go on to TPN, which is where they stop feeding you in your digestive system. The stomach is ruled out, and they feed you through like a cannula into your veins, into your artery near your heart, and they feed you nutrients that way. So I'm waiting to go through there on the 16th of April, which is a long time to wait when you're losing weight. So I'm left in a position where I'm at home, I'm not in hospital, I'm comfortable to a certain extent, I'm still starving, and yeah, I'll send you another video soon. I just wanted to put this one out there, just to tell a little bit of my story, and to say hi to everybody who follows me all the time, so hi. And you can follow me on www.gastroparesis.com. helpme/minx@blogspot.com. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.